What's up, YouTube? Yugioh Tube here, and today I am going to discuss with you the differences between Beckett or BGS and PSA and the benefits of grading. Why do people grade cards? How much do they usually cost on average? A lot of background information in terms of grading. So first of all, there are two companies, or main companies, that grade cards, and that is PSA, Professional Sports Authenticators, and Beckett BGS, Beckett Grading Services. Why do people grade cards? Well, obviously the first reason is that they perceive grading cards as raising value. Whether they sell it themselves or they hold it in their collection, they know that the value of the card at a PSA 10 is much more than the value of the card ungraded. Secondly, there's a sort of satisfaction or assuredness when grading cards, and in this case, people are assured that the card is a mint card if it is a 9, or a near mint card if it's an 8, or a gem mint if it's a 10. One thing that you go through on eBay all the time is sellers saying the card is mint or near mint, and then there's scratches, there's edge wear, there's corner wear. With PSA, well, these mistakes could happen. Well, a subpar card could get an 8, 9, or even 10. It's rare. I'm by no means saying that PSA or Beckett is foolproof. It is all subjective. Keep in mind, one guy's 9 could be another grader's 10, and one guy's 8 could be another 9. So, I mean, it's all subjective. Sometimes a grader perhaps could miss a scratch on a card, and all of a sudden the card that doesn't deserve a 10 does get a 10. Having said that, those are rarer mistakes. They do happen, though. They do happen. But when you're buying cards raw compared to when you're buying cards raw, meaning ungraded online, you get a lot more satisfaction buying it graded, because you know the majority of these cards are as they are stated. So that's that part of it. Secondly, or thirdly, I should say, people grade cards because they want it encapsulated. They simply want their card protected. You could simply use a top loader and a soft sleeve to protect your card. However, sometimes people actually think the PSA or Beckett cases make the card look aesthetically more pleasing, and for that reason they will go and spend the $15, $20 to grade that one card. They also have the, satisfaction of knowing that if you were to drop the card right now, boom, the case might get a little scuffed and scratched, but the card inside would still be in the good condition. For those who don't have any graded cards, the graded cards, the quality of the cases is very nice. There are ways to, of course, break open the case if you really needed to, though it is not recommended. You better know what you're doing if you want to open the case up. But again, people buy it for value, for quality, and for safety and assurance the card will be protected. So again, we mentioned PSA and Beckett. Those are the two grading services. PSA simply gives a 9 or a 10, whereas Beckett, this is the main difference, Beckett has a 9, a 9.5, and a 10. So for those who don't know, PSA, for example, if they give it a 9, it's a mint 9. If they give it a 10, it's a gem mint 10. Beckett, on the other hand, if they give it a 9, it's a mint 9. If they give it a 9.5, then it's a gem mint 9.5, equivalent to the PSA 10. And if they give it a 10, it's called a 10 pristine. So that seems to carry a premium over the PSA 10 at times, for sure. Simply because Beckett doesn't hand that out at all. I mean, they are doing it more often, but they're not, they're pretty rare, the Beckett 10s. If you're looking to grade your cards, I would absolutely say stay away from Beckett. It's more expensive. The credibility isn't as high as PSA, in my opinion. I think PSA was the first mover advantage in this case for Yu-Gi-Oh! They were for Pokemon. Pokemon was all PSA, and it's looking like Yu-Gi-Oh! The majority will be PSA. So that's where you got to go with PSA. But anyhow, let's go back to the two companies at hand. Beckett, they do have the 0.5s after everything, so they will have 7, a Beckett 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, 10. As we know with PSA, they have 8, 8.5, 9, and then a 10. So there's a big drop-off between the 9 and 10. The PSA 9s will come nowhere close to a PSA 10 in terms of value. A PSA 9 usually is about a third of the value of a 10, aka a 10 is about 3 times the amount of a PSA 9 usually. These multipliers can vary significantly depending on the card, the population, a variety of factors. Beckett, a Beckett 9.5 Gem Mint, a Beckett 9.5 is slightly lower than a PSA 10, and it should be, because a Beckett 9.5, it's given out often. People want the 10, but as I said, if you're going to go for Beckett, the odds of you getting a 10 are very slim. However, noting that a Beckett 10 Pristine is worth quite a bit more than a PSA 10 because they're just so rare. Beckett does grade on 4 subgrades. That's something important to keep in mind when comparing the two services. Beckett gives you the 4 subgrades of the card. So they will give you the corners, the edges, the centering, and the surface of the card, each with individual number grades. PSA, they don't do that. They just say it's either a 9 or a 10 or an 8 or a 7. And that's one thing about Beckett that I do like. I'm not a big Beckett guy, but that is one thing that I do like about Beckett, is the fact that you could at least see what they see or what they saw when they were grading the card. Sometimes with PSA, you'll say, wow, I got an 8. The card was flawless. Where'd they get the 8 from? It should have been a 10. You will never know. You'll never know what they saw. At least with PSA, when it's going through their process, there's usually 2 graders, and both guys say it's a 10, it's a 10. If one guy says it's a 9 and one guy says it's a 10, then it goes to a third tiebreaker, you could say grader, to where he'll ultimately decide what the card will get, either a 9 or a 10. Beckett, I don't know the process, unfortunately. I couldn't find much information on that, but if anyone does know on Beckett how they grade their cards or the process, please let me know. But overall, those are the 2 options you have, the 2 services. You know why people grade their cards. That's about it. This is more of an introduction kind of video. I will get into more in-depth details in terms of which cards you should grade, which you should not grade, which services you should use and why, the price differences, the cost differences of the 2 services, the turnaround times of the 2 services, the reputation of the 2 services. There's a whole load, encyclopedia of things that I can go over, but I'm going to keep this video relatively short. But that's it. It was a basic introduction. Again, there's the 2 services, ultimately your choice. If you have any questions on PSA or Beckett, please feel free, BGS, please feel free to comment below. I will have more videos for you in regards to these 2 companies. Plenty of stories to tell about those. And if you have any questions or recommendations, please feel free to let me know. I'm also thinking of having a how to submit video on a detailed guide on how to submit to PSA or Beckett. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably be in a little bit. I do actually have some PSA cards coming back real soon, so that should be fun as well. But again, brief overview. I want to keep it brief. It's about 8 minutes in. Stay tuned. I will give you my opinions on the 2 companies and what you should do in regards to your cards and how to ship them and what services to use and the time and the price. So, all right, that's it, guys.